We went from this.
You cannot be good enough. You cannot. You cannot be cool enough. You cannot.
Alright, we went from there to this.
You cannot be good enough. You cannot. You cannot be cool enough.
Yo, it's Vicky Melody here, and we're back with an amazing tutorial here. So if you're new here, subscribe and follow the family. But without wasting much of the time, let me show you how I did a mix. You guys know what we're about in this channel. So before then, let me take a screenshot for my thumbnail. Yeah. Let's head straight to the system. All right, so we are on the system, and as you know, I use two displays, my laptop screen and also my Samsung TV for wider view, because that's where I put my mixer to see my mixer and all my plugins above there. But I'm going to be showing you the both screens of whatever I'm doing. So this is a mix I'm currently doing, and I'm going to show you how I processed the vocal. We went from this.
You cannot be good enough. You cannot. You cannot be cool enough. You cannot.
Alright, we went from there to this.
You cannot be good enough. You cannot. You cannot be cool enough. I don't come out. I don't come out. And that's why I burn a lot of trees. God forbid.
Alright, so let me show you guys what I did. Let me move over to this other display. Yeah. Alright, so I'll take off everything.
You cannot be good enough. You cannot.
Then I had my leads. I like coloring my tracks. I have my leads in blue. I like the blue for my leads. Then I choose a color for my backups. Then multiple takes and the rest. So I have a lead group here where I'm processing the lead vocal. You get, so, and I'm routing my lead vocal there to the lead group. That's where I'm routing these two guys here. So I had that.
You cannot be good enough. You cannot.
So the first thing I brought in was an EQ, basically just cutting off about 130 hertz, because it takes off the low rumble. You already know most of this stuff, so it's important to clear up your mix before you even start adding any other stuff.
You cannot be good enough. You cannot.
And if you watch, I have my analyzer on pre and post, so I'm seeing what it was and also what it is after I've added any cuts or boosts. So you see these gray places, it was having some low rumbles here. Then you also watch the post where it was less.
You cannot be good enough. You cannot.
So you get clearing those low rumbles because they can easily mess up the mix. Then
you cannot.
Next thing I added chair was a DSR. I didn't actually go do this particular sound the way I normally go through sounds or mixing. I just listen to the mix, listen to the sound, because I think the guy is in Italy, so he sent over the vocals for me to work on. So every microphone sounds different, so you can't mix every sound, every vocal the same way. So I'll be doing a next video about compression, because I did multi-band compression in this particular mix. So watch through to the end to see the reason why I used multi-band compression on the vocal. I'm also going to do a separate video for compression and also using multi-band and when and why to use multi-band. Yeah, so I added a DSR because the vocal was by the S's was very loud.
You cannot be good enough. You cannot. I burn a lot of trees. God forbid. Say, if I die with this, where you gonna be?
So I used the DSR to hold my S's. You get. Then I brought in my CLA2A This is a compressor. It glues the vocals together and like checks the dynamics.
I burn a lot of trees, God forbid. Say, if I die with this, where you gonna be? I know you gonna move with my best friends. Fucked around with all my.
Now the thing about compressor, whenever you kick in a compressor, you feel it gets loud. It's not actually getting loud, it's actually making the quiet part louder. And also because when I hit, this is my gain reduction, and I'm taking down 5 dB, I'll have to add the 5 dB back again in the gain, so everything now feels as if it's sounding louder. You get? So that's the importance of the compressor. So after that, I used I did my surgical EQ or reductive EQ, where I was taking down frequencies that were not pleasant in the sound. Yeah, so this frequency, I took it down.
I burn a lot of trees, God forbid. Say, if I with my best friends, fucked around with all my friends, steady man, yeah. I don't.
So those frequencies there, and also I did a cut, because after compression, some of those low frequencies that you've cut off usually introduces themselves again. You get? And sometimes from the color that the compressor adds, sometimes also add some colors to the low frequencies. So that's why immediately after my compression, I always add an EQ. I formed that as a habit. So after that, I added another EQ again. Yeah, because when you add some EQs after doing this first step, I have to listen throughout to the song again, because there might be some places where you've done surgical EQ, and there will be a section in the song where they'll sing a particular line or something, and some frequencies will get spiking, will just spike up. So that's the reason why I listen to from the beginning to the end to check for those ones, and then that's when I use dynamic EQing, because since those frequencies are not bad throughout the song, they're just bad in some sections, so there's no point cutting down that frequencies and killing everything that is there. So I just put a dynamic EQ, so when those frequencies engage, the EQ will take them down. So I was taking down this.
Fuck friends. I gave you peace. I don't.
You get? So I did that, and
Here's the flow right now. Let's hear the flow right now. Ever since you go, let's hear the flow like say, hey.
But when you are mixing, you always like listen through with the beats. You get? So you don't just solo focus and start mixing on your own, because it has to be corresponding with the frequencies of the instrumental. Sometimes there are some places we will cut off in the vocal because there are some important sounds in the beat that doesn't need to be cut down. So you have to cut down from the vocal so that they'll have that balance. You understand? So, but the reason why I'm muting the beat is because I'm actually going to remake the beat for this song. So, but this one is like a downloaded version, so I don't know if there's a copyright online or stuff, so I don't want it to affect the channel. So then at that point I brought in the C4. This is a dynamic compressor, a multi-band compressor, sorry. So I cut the frequencies into 3. I minused the low because I don't want it. I just had the low mid, the mid, and the highs. Then I compressed them separately. You get? So, and if you watch, the compressor is reacting to all these 3 bands in separate ways. You get? So it makes the vocal more up to your face.
Here's the flow right now. Let's hear the flow right now. Let's hear the flow right now. Ever since you go, let's hear the flow like say, hey, but here's the sweet like cake. Hey.
You get? And also the reason why I use multi-band compression sometimes is because there are sometimes when an artist will sing on different octaves. You know what I mean by octave? Like they sing on the lower part of the, like if it's a keyboard or something, they sing on the higher part and maybe sing in some versions. It's just dynamic. They sing, ooh, they go low and also go high pitch. Sometimes because those frequencies trigger the compressors in different ways. So it's usually safer to use a multi-band compressor so that when the voice is in the low region, the compressor works in a certain way. And when it's also the person is singing on a higher region, the compressor works in certain ways than just having one compressor hitting everything at all the time. So it makes the vocal uneven. But with this, it gives it that steadiness in compression. So that's just one tip there.
Here's the flow right now. Let's hear the flow right now. Ever since you go, let's hear the flow like say.
And this also on the high side acts more like a de-esser. After this part, I added fresh air, one of my favorite these days. I just added mid air and high air.
Here's the flow right now. Let's hear the flow right
But I was just adding subtle because the vocal was already bright. Had it been it was a dull vocal, I'll add up to like 20%. Then I brought in another EQ now. But then let me make it bigger so you see it better. Yeah. I did more reduction. I cut off this guy.
Here's the flow right now. Let's hear the flow right now.
Don't mind, I just made the view bigger. I'm not cutting too much. This is barely 2 dB. This is barely 3 dB, 3 point something. So
here's the flow right now. Ever since you go, let's hear the flow like say. And you already know. Tell me what to say, right? Me down, yeah. And that's why I burn a lot of trees, God forbid. That's why I burn a lot of trees, God forbid. This, where you gonna be?
you get, so I did that and also did mid EQing. You get, I did a mid EQing because the middle of a sound, in every sound, the middle is where the power is. But everything that is heavy and punchy stays in the middle. What goes to the side image is usually the reverbs and the EQ. What gives that environment? Yeah, but the middle is where everything happens. So I had to give it energy in the mid of the vocal. So I just boosted around the 1K.
That's why I burn a lot of trees, God forbid.
Just in the middle, so that it will pop out well in the instrumental. Yeah. So then I added one knob wetter, just 1% to place the vocal in a space.
That's why I burn a lot of trees, God forbid. Say if I die.
I just placed it in a small room. Then I used them a de-esser finally.
That's why I burn a lot of trees, God forbid. Say if I die with this.
Just finally. Then for the effects, my send effects, I had my H delay. Yet I have cut off the lows to about 500. Cut off some of the highs to like 6K. I just wanted that mid range, and I had it on ping pong. I wanted the delay to be hitting my left and the right speakers, like headphones. If you're putting on headphones, you will notice it. When I engage the delay, you see that it's going from left to right. It's not centered. I wanted that space to be in the middle, but I just give it that character by the side. So this is what we had.
That's why I burn a lot of trees, God forbid. Say if I die with this, where you gonna be? I know you gonna move with my best friends. Fucked around with all my friends. Steady clubbing with your girlfriends.
So you get. Then I brought in my reverb. I was using the Valhalla Vintage, cut off the lows, cut the highs a bit. Then it was a bigger room now. I wanted to give it that big space. But then I didn't want it to just stay consistent. You get, I wanted it to, whenever the vocal is singing, the reverb is a little bit down, but when he closes his mouth, the reverb opens up and puts it in a big space, so it creates the character. So what I did was, this is the rack for my reverb. This is where the reverb is. You get. So I came under the strip, is on Cubase. You can also do it in any software. You could just add a compressor and trigger a sidechain. So what I was doing was sidechaining. I added a compressor that comes with the rack. You get, activated the sidechain, and then use the compressor to compress. So anytime this guy is singing, this is the sidechain here. So anytime my vocal is singing, the compressor docks down the big reverb. So when the vocal goes off, the big reverb comes back.
That's why I burn a lot of trees. That's why I burn a lot of trees. God forbid. Say, if I die with this, where you gonna be? I know you gonna move with my best friends. You cannot be good enough. You cannot. You cannot be cool enough. You cannot. For someone that doesn't really loves you, you cannot.
So you get, when he's a little bit mute, the room gets bigger. You get, so that was the effect I was going for there. So, and that was just how I mixed the lead vocal. Then for the backup vocals, I didn't do much. I wouldn't even want to waste much of the time, because backup vocal, my lead vocal is the most important stuff in a mix, except when I want to do some characteristics. So for the backup vocals, I might not be playing them, but I'll just show the plugins I used. I did a low cut there and added the API 2500. This guy works best on backup vocals. I'll just simply load a preset backup vox, then I'll treat my threshold until I get a desired gain reduction. Then I used Magneto. This is like a tape plugin. It's a tape saturator plugin to make the backup vocals a little bit saturated. Then I did my EQing and added fresh air, definitely. Then added the reverb Valhalla directly on the insert. I didn't send it. You get, because one thing I like about my backup vocals, I like putting the reverb in the chain there instead of sending it, because I didn't want the dry signal to come, then having a sent signal. I just wanted to give it like some percentage. You get, I just send like 35% of the mixed reverb into it, and that's just it. You get, so it was sounding like this with the backup.
And that's why I burn a lot of trees. God forbid. Say, if I die with these, where you gonna be? I know you gonna move with my best friends. Fucked around with all my command. I don't command my mind from you. I drink. That's why I burn a lot of trees.
You get, so that was how I did it. So in case you liked the video, click on the like, drop a comment to help the video go, whatever, on this YouTube space. And if you want to see some other kind of tutorials, you let me know in the comment section. Someone messaged me on Facebook. I'm on all social media, Vicky Melody. He asked me to do a tutorial, so that was why I did this particular one. You guys, so see you guys on the next one, depending on what you suggest. So stay creative there. Vicky Melody says. So I'll be dropping more videos on. I have a mix chain coming out where I will show you how you mix both the kick, the snares, like the beat and everything. So stay tuned on the channel. We'll be back.
That's why I